Josh Hasten here, Israel Uncensored, on the Land of Israel Network at thelandofisrael.com. It is Monday, September 23rd, 2019, the 23rd of Elul 5779. We're headed towards Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, coming this Sunday night. But of course, before we wish everyone a Shana Tova, all of our listeners here, there's a lot to discuss because, of course, Israel is going to the Olympics. Our baseball team made it and will represent the country next year's Tokyo Olympics. No, that is probably not the top story. I mean, that's the story that I'm most excited to talk about with all of the madness coming following last week's election, which essentially ended in a stalemate, and we'll get to that just in a minute. I'd rather be talking about this baseball situation, and we will get to that. But it is a mess, folks. Right now, it is a complete mess here with Benny Gantz's blue and white party winning 2 more Knesset seats than the incumbent Prime Minister Netanyahu and his Likud party. Nevertheless, currently here, as I am speaking to you on Monday morning in Israel, neither side really looks like they have a path to those necessary 61 Knesset seats to form a coalition. President Reuven Rivlin started yesterday meeting with the heads of the various parties. Those meetings will continue today to see whom those parties choose, who they believe should be the next prime minister of the state of Israel. It is a very complicated process. There's no electoral college. For those who live in America, it's not simply choosing Republican or Democrat, and whoever has the most number of mandates from the Electoral College becomes the next leader of the country. It does not work like that in the Israeli parliamentary system. And I'll just explain here what essentially is going on. So as I mentioned, blue and white finishing with 2 more seats than the Likud, but unable to form a 61-member, currently unable to form a 61-member coalition. So President Reuven Rivlin began, according to the Jerusalem Post, our good friend and colleague Gil Hoffman, he began his consultations towards forming a new government on Sunday amid a historic move, and this is critical, by most of the joint list, the Arab parties, to recommend Benny Gantz for Prime Minister. Now, this is the first time, this is the blue and white party, Benny Gantz, this is the first time that one of the Arab parties decided to recommend anybody for Prime Minister. The last time it happened was in 1992 when several of the Arab potential or upcoming members of Knesset recommended then Yitzhak Rabin. What's ironic in both of those cases is that you're talking about former heads of the IDF being recommended by the Arab parties to become the next prime minister of the state of Israel. But even with those recommendations, even with the Arabs recommending Benny Gantz, he's still short of that 61. President Rivlin told representatives of both Likud and blue and white that he would demand the formation of a unity government of both parties, but he did not indicate which party would go first. The earliest he would present his mandate is Wednesday evening after the results become official of the election. Now, what we're talking about here is a potential rotation government, whereas Bibi Netanyahu might serve for 2 years and then Benny Gantz would serve for 2 years, or the other way around. At the same time, there's also jockeying for position in terms who would get the first opportunity to form a government. The blue and white party, with their strategy is at this point, is they would like the president to give Netanyahu the first chance of forming a government, trying to get to that 61, hoping that he will fail, and then perhaps once people see different parties realize that Netanyahu can't get the job done, that then perhaps they will give the mandate to blue and white to try to form a government. Now, who is the kingmaker here, the wild card? Avigdor Lieberman, who, by the way, yesterday said that he would not recommend neither Netanyahu nor Benny Gantz to form a government. So we are here at a stalemate. And it's all intricate and very political here, playing games, both sides, to try to see what is the best strategy. Should they go first? Should they go second? Should they count on the other party to fail? And that is where we are right now. After the first day of consultations, here reported by Gil Hoffman, barring a change in the final results of the race, Netanyahu would have the recommendation of 55 MKs from the Likud, Shas, United Torah Judaism, and Yamina parties, while Gantz would have 54 recommendations from Blue and White, Labor, Gesher, Democratic Union, and most of the Arab list, the joint list. It's 54, but technically, if the head of the Arab party suggests Blue and White, Benny Gantz, then it's really 57, but it doesn't really matter because they're still short of 61. The ball is in Lieberman's court, but he is saying that he would like a government with his party, Israel Beitenu, and Blue and White, and Likud, and nobody else, because he does not want to sit in a government with the Arab parties, and he doesn't want to sit in a government with the Yamina party. And his number one concern, he doesn't want to sit in a government with the ultra-Orthodox. I hope this makes somewhat sense to those listening out there about the situation. The bottom line is we are stuck right now. The Arab party yesterday, Ahmed Tibi, well-known, basically representative of the PLO in Israel's Knesset, saying that our choice is a slap in the face. His choice, meaning to recommend Blue and White and not Netanyahu, is a slap in the face to U.S. President Donald Trump and his ultimate deal, said Tibi. Quote, Mr. Trump, keep your deal. The Palestinians, his words, not mine, deserve a state of their own. Do you understand this? Well, if they really wanted a state of their own, they had many opportunities towards a state of their own. They rejected it each and every time. This guy, Ahmed Tibi, his party, these guys, 20% of the population here in Israel is Arab. These guys don't represent them. The Arabs in the Knesset are extremists who represent the PLO, the Palestinian Authority. That's who they represent. And I don't expect them to be Zionists, but they are against the Jewish state of Israel, yet they serve in our parliament. And I'll get here to some quotes from Lieberman actually saying basically that, and here in just a few minutes. Again, focusing on Lieberman, also reported by the J-Post, Israel Beitenu leader Avigdor Lieberman said Sunday he would not recommend either Blue and White leader Benny Gantz or Netanyahu to form the next government. He called again for a national unity government, as I just said, between Blue and White Likud, said that Gantz and Netanyahu should not drag the country into new elections simply over who gets to be prime minister first in a rotation government. That's his view. He wants both of them together, and he wants a rotation government. Israel's had this before. If you remember back in the 80s, I believe, it was Yitzhak Shamir and Shimon Peres taking turns in a national unity government to serve as prime minister. Lieberman also accused the leadership, as I was just talking about, of the joint list of supporting terrorists seeking to undermine the country from within. He insisted that if the Arab sector is in need of higher budgets from the state, that it should go through the local Arab political leadership of mayors and municipal councils and not through the joint list party in the Knesset. And I know this to be a fact that many Arabs here in Israel do not have faith in their Knesset representatives and realize that they do not have their best interests in mind. They're not looking out for their local populations. They're looking really to destroy the state of Israel. Hence, Lieberman points out here that they should be looking towards their mayors in order to get things done in their communities. And I actually agree with Lieberman here. The Israel Beitenu leader did call on Gantz and Netanyahu to put aside their egos, find a way to decide who becomes prime minister, saying that they should flip a coin as long as they come to an agreement. So that is his view. He doesn't want any type of government with Yamina, Naftali Bennett, Ayelet Shaket's party, or certainly not the ultra-Orthodox. Those are his stipulations. Somebody has to give here, folks, whether it's Likud, and Likud and Netanyahu have expressed a willingness to sit with blue and white, really realizing that basically that is their only hope to prevent a third election. Can you imagine if we go to a third election? It is possible. It might, in fact, happen. So either Netanyahu has to give in, or Gantz has to give in. Somebody has to budge, or Lieberman, but it looks least likely that Lieberman is going to give in. This is why we're in this situation in the first place, thanks to Avigdor Lieberman. The president here, and I want to talk about this for a minute, the president of the state of Israel, some people think it's just a symbolic role, shaking hands and holding babies. That is not, in this capacity, that is not what the president does. His role is key when it comes to elections. He has the most important job here. The law grants, Gil Hoffman explains, the law grants Rivlin broad discretion when it comes to choosing a prime minister. It only says that the law says that the president has to seek the faction's advice. He has to get advice from all the different parties, but he can do one of three things. His options are: he can pick the largest party, which would be blue and white, and give them the first chance to form a government. He can pick which party gets the most recommendations, or he can pick who he thinks has the best chance of forming a government coalition. But we're still here at a stalemate. So the president plays a key role in deciding, will Gantz get the first opportunity? Will Bibi get the first opportunity? He has a major role here. The president opened his series of meetings yesterday saying he'll do whatever it takes to prevent a third election, and called for blue and white and Likud to be in a coalition together. So it seems that nearly everyone here is trying to avoid that third election, but it is not impossible. It might, in fact, happen. Jeremy the Man Sultan, who we had on last week, he on Twitter quoted President Rivlin telling Israel Beitenu the following. He said, "Whoever doesn't recommend anyone is actually saying that they do not support any government." He is scolding Israel Beitenu and Avigdor Lieberman. If we end up with the third election, remember this moment where they refuse to give one side a clear mandate. That last part was Jeremy's analysis. At the same time, Jeremy Sultan says that Likud is suggesting, according to what he knows, Likud is suggesting to Rivlin a 99 MK coalition of Likud, blue and white, Shas, United Torah Judaism, Yamina, Labor, which would leave in the opposition Avigdor Lieberman, Israel Beitenu, along with the joint list. That is possible. That could actually happen. I don't know if Israel's ever had, we'll have to go back into the archives. Maybe you know out there, if you're listening, if Israel's ever had a 99 MK coalition, I would guess that would be a record. I could be wrong, okay? We were already, 71 years old? So even though we're still a young country, perhaps it has happened in the past. But that would be a broad coalition. But it's just a crazy system, really, if you think about it. And it's not an exact comparison, but imagine if you vote in the U.S., let's say for a Democrat, and the Democrats win, and then the Secretary of State or most of the cabinet is from the Republican Party or from other parties. It's not an exact comparison. You can't say it's exactly the same thing, but that is just a crazy system. Throughout the campaign, Netanyahu said he would not sit with blue and white, and it looks like he will have no choice. Or blue and white, who said they will not sit with. They said they'll sit with Likud, but not with Prime Minister Netanyahu because of the allegations and all the court hearings coming up or whatnot. But they may not have a choice in terms of forming a government. So bottom line here, we will see what shall happen as the president has more meetings today. We'll see if we're going towards a third election, or we will see if some type of unity government will be formed. And then, of course, the so-called deal of the century expected just in a few days, perhaps from now, with Jason Greenblatt, the outgoing special envoy from the Trump administration, meeting with both Netanyahu and Rivlin over the last several days. So that, in a nutshell, is what's going on in the political world. If you have any questions, feel free. Email me, josh@thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, Joshua Hasten, or Josh Hasten, Israel Advocacy and Journalism. On Twitter, at Josh Hasten, and Instagram as well. And if there's something that I don't know, I'm happy to ask people like our wonderful colleague and host, Gil Hoffman, or Jeremy Salton, or others who are well-versed in this crazy political system that we have. And you know what? It is crazy, but nevertheless, you know what? 2,000 years, the Jewish people have been without leadership, without a government. So despite it all, we have to embrace the fact that we have this opportunity. No one else will dictate to us who our leaders are. It is only us. We are the ones with the power to vote. And it's a pretty unbelievable thing, even though it is a little bit off the wall. Getting to other news now, our friend Anna Aronheim reports, very sad, 74-year-old Nina Gistanova from Ashkelon, who was severely wounded by a Gazan rocket attack, has died. She was in a coma at Sheba Hospital for 10 months after her building sustained a direct hit. This is very sad. Another Israeli victim of rocket fire from the terrorists in Gaza. May God avenge her blood. And just very, very sad. And of course, who knows? Who knows what the situation will be down south? It is very unstable. It could erupt at any moment. And speaking of terror, a 23-year-old IDF officer on vacation was moderately injured on Friday from rocks thrown by Arabs at his vehicle on Highway 55. That's in the Shomron, near Maleh Shomron. He was taken to the hospital suffering from a facial injury. From what I understand, he also passed out as a result. I saw pictures from him in the hospital, his face completely bandaged. This is you call it moderate. This is a serious, perhaps life-altering injury. If not that, you're talking about rehab and everything that he has to go through, from being hit in the face with a rock or a boulder or whatever they threw, these terrorists here trying to murder Jews along the roads in Judea and Samaria, which is a daily occurrence. If you're not aware, this happens each and every day. And in this case, officers suffering from facial wounds. And this is horrible. It's unacceptable. We've been talking about this. I've been talking about this for over a decade here on radio, saying the government must create a deterrence where the terrorists know if they throw a rock at an Israeli car, they will be punished severely. That deterrence is still not there with these daily rock attacks. At the same time, last week, this is I guess this is a little bit old news already, but it happened in between last week's show and this week's show. On Wednesday, female terrorists attempted to carry out a stabbing attack against security forces at the Kalandia checkpoint outside of Jerusalem. The IDF forces security forces shot and killed this female terrorist who tried to murder Israeli security forces there at Kalandia. The J-Post reports here, that, by the way, was Israel National News. J-Post reports that the U.S. Justice Department announced Thursday that a New Jersey man is being charged with 9 counts of offenses related to his support for Hezbollah. This guy had evil intentions, bottom line. He was getting ready and he was carrying out surveillance against different targets throughout the New York City area. And he was a Hamas agent, had training in bomb making. This is a bad guy who was planning on carrying out attacks on America, no doubt. And the question really is how many more people are out there like this guy? How many more supporters of Hezbollah or extremist jihad ideologies are living in the U.S. or in other countries throughout Europe and the U.S.? I mean, we know we have them here in Israel, but how many are out there in places where they are not completely awake? In this case, the authorities were awake and caught this guy, but it's pretty scary to think that there could be many more people out there with that type of ideology who could be targeting various public places in New York or in other areas in the United States. Very scary. According to a leader from Judea and Samaria, sovereignty cannot be halted. The application of sovereignty to, it says here, West Bank settlements, I call them Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria, cannot be halted. There was a Rosh Hashanah toast held by the Yesha Council, the council representing communities in Judea and Samaria, and their leader, Yigal Dilmoni, told reporters as they gathered in the Jordan Valley that sovereignty was on the way. There was nothing that could stop Israel annexing, starting with the Jordan Valley, as Prime Minister Netanyahu said just a few weeks ago, and then moving on to all communities in Judea and Samaria. Dilmoni said here in the J-Post that he did not believe that Netanyahu's comments were part of the election rhetoric or that this was a gimmick. He believes that Israel will start the process of annexing communities in Judea and Samaria, and that, of course, is good news. There's still people who are against it, but folks, we've been going down this road for 25 plus years. I'm talking about the Oslo Road, and it's only resulted in the spilling of Jewish blood throughout the land of Israel. Let's try something else. Let's try annexing our historic heartland. Let's start with that. Let's start from a position of strength as our neighbors still try to plot against us. Speaking of those who are against us, Times of Israel reports that the BDS founder, Omar Barghouti, has been banned from attending a conference in the UK. This was a Labour Party, the Labour Party's upcoming annual conference. Labour Party, of course, and their leader, Jeremy Corbyn, no friend of the Jewish people, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel haters. But the visa being upheld for Barghouti, him not being allowed to attend the conference. Apparently he will speak via video. But, he's a terrorist anti-Semite. So this is good news that he's not being allowed into the UK. Why does Israel put up with him? Why does Israel let him? They should stop him. I don't know if he's flying back to this area via Ben Gurion, if he's coming from Jordan, or how he's getting here. But if the UK can stop him, Israel should stop him from coming in. Earlier this year, he was denied entry to the U.S. he was planning on a multi-city speaking tour. That was denied, and we should do the same here as well. Don't let this BDS hater anywhere near our country. I know we ban other heads of the BDS movement from coming into Israel, and he should not be an exception. This guy's the founder of it, with proven ties to terror organizations who want to destroy the state of Israel. And now, finally, let's get to baseball. Okay, this is great news, and I watched some of the game yesterday. Israel defeating South Africa 11-1. There were 6 teams, I believe, in the tournament. Israel going 5-1, winning 5 out of the 6 games, finishing top in the standings, and they will be going to Tokyo next summer, representing the state of Israel. This is, I think, only the 3rd time, perhaps the first time in the last 40-plus years that an Israeli team, has represented the country in team sports. We've had individuals represent in windsurfing and in judo and in various other sports, but the first time Israel's sending a team since 1976, since our soccer team went and competed in the Olympics. This is amazing news. All these guys here, most of them are Americans who, on paper at least, made Aliyah. Hopefully they'll actually come and move to the state of Israel. That would be amazing if all of them picked up, moved to Israel, and continue continued their baseball prowess and continued to spread the sport here in Israel, that would be awesome. But this is an amazing accomplishment. 2020 Tokyo Olympics, punching their ticket, defeating the host, the second-seeded Italian team, and the only loss was against the Czechs. But finishing the tournament, I believe. I think I said 5-1. I think 4-1. Finishing the tournament, going on to Tokyo. It was a long path. This didn't just happen over this tournament. They had to qualify just in order to qualify. It took a long time, but they did it. They completed the mission, and now let's see. Will they bring home a gold medal from the Olympics or any type of medal? No matter what happens, this is an amazing accomplishment for the state of Israel, for baseball, and they did us proud in this tournament in Europe over the weekend in Italy. Moving on to I wish this was top story, guys. I wish we could start. I talked about it a little bit at the beginning. I wish it was all baseball for an entire show, and not this election mumbo jumbo uncertainty here. But we did get to baseball. Finally, Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year, is starting Sunday night and Monday and Tuesday. The Jewish New Year, Jews all over the world will be headed towards the synagogue. We'll be eating the festive foods, dipping the apples in the honey. And all I want to do at this time really is just wish everyone here, first of all, at the Land of Israel Network, at thelandofisrael.com, all of my colleagues and co-hosts, and Ben Bresky behind the scenes, and Tabitha Epstein behind the scenes, wishing everyone a Shana Tova Umetuka, a sweet and happy new year here at the station. Everyone does amazing work, puts so much effort into each and every broadcast here on the network. So I want to thank them all, and I'm proud to be part of the team. And certainly want to wish everyone out there in the wonderful world of ours, those who are celebrating a Shana Tova Umetuka, a sweet new year. Let's hope for only good news as we head towards the year 5780 on the Jewish calendar. Next Monday, since it's Rosh Hashanah, there is no show. Please, God, we'll be speaking again 2 weeks from today. Get in touch with me over the course of those 2 weeks. Josh at thelandofisrael.com. On Facebook, it is Joshua Hasten or Josh Hasten Israel Advocacy and Defense. That is my page. Sorry, it is Israel Advocacy and Journalism. That's my page. On Twitter at Josh Hasten and on Instagram as well. Shana Tova, broadcasting here on Monday from beautiful Gush Etzion. Wherever you are in the wonderful world of ours, be safe. Shana Tova. All the best from all of us here at the Land of Israel Network, at the